you never really expect anything when you do exhibitions. You hope that it's going to be received well, and what do you want to say when you do a show, So I sort of try to take the essence of what the last years since the digital archive became our platform. And I think it demonstrates how we can access things and how photography has changed. What I wanted to avoid is any kind of logic pattern. I mean, if you look at the book, it's sex, it's death, it's love, it's fashion, it's pretty much all together. Milk has become part of my life, and why not do a show with Milk? Because it's thanks to them that I can do what I do. I grew up outside of Zurich, pretty much in the countryside, and I'm coming from a family of adventurers. My grandfather was a very, very eccentric man and a very fascinating character. My father, more on the quiet side. I always knew my father coming home with his leather jacket, taking the jacket off and coming from flying. And I wanted to become a pilot, and I did everything to get into the Air Force, and then I had a very bad accident, and thank God I didn't become a pilot, because if not, I would not be sitting here talking to you. Very early, I went to school in England in the late 60s, and that was a tumultuous time in England, and it was the time of Antonioni's blow-up. It was a great learning period for me about contemporary art and art itself. By coincidence, I met Karl Lagerfeld at a dinner with the curator of the Beaubourg, and he needed a photographer, and that was really my first pictures published. That was the Chloe campaign. Consequently, I met a man called Alexander Lieberman that was a great influence in my life, and one of the great lines that he said, I never know what I'm going to get from you, but at least you risk. And I have this echo in my mind, always risk, risk, risk. And it sort of stayed with me and has been a good guide so far in my life. It's been now, for me, 35 years. I move more and more into very long-term projects. My biggest project that I'm doing now is called the Light Project, that I worked now almost 20 years. It's a project on the erosions of the glaciers, and it's a project on land art, but it's natural land art. We will consequently cover glaciers with fabric to protect them from melting. We now earmark several mountain peaks that have very huge ice masses on top, and that will be recorded by satellite. And that's a Milk project. And Milk has been pretty much on every single production of mine, and I do the Shark project or the Light project, but there are several cameras recording these things. And I think the beauty of my work, and maybe the difference between myself and some other photographers, I feature the work of the people that I work with, and it's at the same level as my level. And I find this really, really interesting, and it's a really beautiful way of the beauty of this, it's this kind of collaborations. And, it goes again to, you had Karl Lagerfeld always has a muse. And of course it's Karl Lagerfeld, but without the muse, that would never happen, The real fascination about filmmaking is the research. You emerge for a long time into a project. When you're a photographer, you're already somehow a storyteller. But you wrap up at the end of the day and you told your story. And I think that the transition is that you have to see the bigger picture. And basically, you have to look at your life. Then you choose which story you want to tell. The next film we're doing is a film on a patient of Freud. Her name was Dora, a 17-year-old girl that Freud wrote a book. It's called Study of Hysteria in 1909. And there are people in Vienna that saw the trailer and they said, oh, you shot this at Café Schwangel. Basically, it was a corner like this. The film is about 5 minutes long. We shot everything in one day. Everything with daylight and one light bulb. And it's really, really powerful. And again, that Milk made it possible. About 1 month before Milk opened in New York, Rossi was sitting across the table in Studio Industria from me like one night, 2 nights, 3 nights. Like, come out of the studio, this guy sits there and said, hey, by the way, I'm going to open a studio. You have no idea, it's going to be the best thing ever. You have never seen something. And I go, yeah. So next day, I back have my coffee at Studio Industria. And same guy there with some other people there. By the way, you have to come and see him. I said, okay. I have a question. I have a client, but we need to lower the furniture by helicopter onto the top of a building. Can you do it? Yes or no? He said, it's done. I said, okay. A few days later, helicopter went back and forth between JFK and dropping furniture on the roof of Milk. That was the first production that I did at Milk, and I've never went anywhere else. If you want to be a fashion photographer or a portrait photographer, don't start compromising. Don't try to please. The big thing today, people want everything. Oh, I have to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That's not going to get you anywhere because everybody tries to do everything. Michael Heiser is a straight line in the desert. Saint Laurent is a silhouette. Dolce & Gabbana, it's the corset. You have to have a very clear vision, and that vision is gonna define who you are. And what I say, hard work brings good luck, and have a vision and don't compromise, because every compromise will lead to another compromise, to another compromise, to another compromise, and in the end, your work is shit, and just don't do it.